Welcome to the Community and Commerce Podcast, Cultivating Market Capacity Through Peer Exchange. Today is our second episode of the series, and we have our guest, Jodi Adams from Grow Ohio Valley. This podcast is brought to you thanks to the support of the USDA Local Food Promotion Program grant. I am Ana Leon, the Regional Program Manager at the Appalachian Center for Economic Networks, also known as ACEnet, the lead organization for this grant. ACEnet is a regional nonprofit working to build the capacity of the region's economy by supporting entrepreneurs and strengthening food systems and community-based businesses in Appalachia, Ohio. So let's begin. Hello, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank
you so much for being here. And could you please introduce yourself and tell us what is Grow Ohio Valley?
Yes, my name is Jodi Adams. I'm currently the Executive Director of Grow Ohio Valley. I've been with the organization for about 6 years. I started when, and we'll get to this, I'm sure, but I started when the public market opened. And I ran the public market for a few years and then, worked in a few different positions and am now the executive director. And what Grow Ohio Valley is a nonprofit who is striving to build a local food system. And what that means for us is that we are really trying to support small businesses that have to do with local food and farmers, increasing their businesses or increasing their sales to build their businesses. And then also to provide as much access as possible to the community where we are. It's a very low income community. And so we find it to be even more important to, provide that access and maintain that access to local healthy foods.
That's amazing. That's so great.
Thank you.
Really happy that's part of the things that you take into consideration and the population that you're serving as well.
Yeah,
that's great.
Thank you.
So I'm curious, and maybe you knew this whenever Grow Ohio Valley started, what was the original vision of it, and how has it evolved from back in that time? Because I know that it started as an after-school gardening program.
Yes. So Danny Swan, who is the founder of Grow Ohio Valley, started by gardening in some urban spots in Wheeling and teaching the youth there, the kids who were going to an after-school program called Laughlin Chapel.
Mm-hmm.
And he was teaching them, what produce was and how to grow it and then how you eat it and what it does for your body and your energy level and the fact that you could be stronger with these healthy foods. And that's essentially how it started and really grew from there. So taking those, urban spots that were rubble and not much else and creating garden space there, growing and getting kids involved was how that started.
That's great. Mm-hmm. But then how did it evolve?
The farming continued and Grow Ohio Valley in about 2018 got an AmeriCorps grant, which then really helped to scale the farming efforts. There are a couple of plots that are owned by the city that Grow Ohio Valley has invested in, where there are 2 high tunnels, a yurt where kids can go and learn and, spend time together.
So nice.
Right by the high tunnels. So it's great. It's this, big area that we refer to as the meadow, and it could be an area for the community. And then also that's where we grow our produce.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a spot under the Route 70, which is called Farm 18 because it's on 18th Street. And it's, I don't know the square footage of it exactly, but we do quite a bit of farming there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then right in downtown, we have 2 greenhouse spaces. So the first sort of, big plot change was that when we got AmeriCorps, we were able to expand a lot and increase growing. And then in 2019, at the very end, we opened the public market.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for the public market is so that we could give these local farmers, not just us, but all of the local farmers who we knew and that, we knew needed support outside of the summer farmers markets, we'd give them a place to sell.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of them needed help too, how to get into a market, how to package their items, how to sell them, how to market them.
And so, technical systems.
Yeah. And so that's what the team at the public market is there for, is to support them with tools to sell, but then also they provide a place for them to sell year round.
Cool. Yeah, that's great.
And it's in downtown Wheeling, so it's providing access to people who were in a food desert, because there was nowhere else for them to get any type of produce in the area and in the vicinity. So there was like a CVS and a 7-Eleven in that area, but that was really it in terms of places where they could buy food.
Wow, yeah, what a great place for the producers and for the consumers.
Yeah. So it's kind of a twofold mission that we're part of there with the public market. And then, I think in terms of evolution, it has become a priority to support these farmers and to then support the low income community to purchase what the farmers grow. And that then we've pivoted a little bit away from growing as much, but at our core, it's always going to be education and kids. So we do programming in the public market to bring kids in and to educate them, and anything we can do. We do a lot of community events where we can educate kids and that kind of thing. But right now, we're really striving for building businesses that have to do with local food. Up next is hopefully a food hub for us, where these vendors can expand and grow their businesses, get more support on scaling them. And adding, for the farmers who have a ton of product in the summer, teaching them a new way to sell their produce, which is probably a value-added item. So being able to expand their businesses in that way too. So that's what we've got our eye on next. And although it doesn't directly relate to kids and education, again, that is going to be at the core of everything that we do. So we'll find a way to bring kids into the mix.
That's awesome. And what kind of education do you do with the kids? Like, is it more about gardening, or is it about nutrition, or like a little bit of everything?
Yeah, a little bit of everything, a little bit of both. We're hoping to get a farm to school grant that we submitted last year. And we have had in the past some really good partnerships with Ohio County schools. And we hope to get that going again. Although right now, we're selling to that school system. So we sell our produce, and we also help to gather other farms' produce to sell to the schools. So we're not just selling it from ourselves, but we're using a sort of CSA method and selling other farmers into the school too, so that they, continue to be able to sell.
Kind of acting as a distributor?
Yes. Yeah. And if we do get this grant, we'll be back in schools as we have in the past, teaching them what to do with the produce. So, we do classes with them where they can then go home and show mom and dad or grandma and grandpa, whomever, this is what you can do with a pepper to make it, add it to a meal or, whatever. So we do a lot of those classes in the classroom and in the schools. And we're really blessed to have a school system that believes in the same in terms of getting as much local produce into the schools and into the kids as much as they can. So they have kitchens there. They have spaces where we can teach and the kids can cook and that kind of thing. So it's been a really great partnership.
That's amazing. And you're saying that you sell some of the produce to the school, like for the school lunches and things like that?
So in Ohio County schools, there is a fresh salad bar every day in every one of their schools.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. They also have a budget that is specific and particularly set aside for local produce. So they can't use that budget anywhere else. And so we've been a partner with them so that, we can connect them with other farmers and or be the distributor, on our end so that we can get others in there.
Yeah.
But so that they can fulfill that budget and be able to, fulfill that need within the schools and in the salad bars.
Yeah, and improve the nutrition of the kids, because sometimes those lunches can be not the best, like full of carbs or just sugar. So that is amazing. So I feel like you have already answered this question, but maybe there's something you want to add to what are some of the core strategies for Grow Ohio Valley to support farmers and build the local food economy.
Yes. So core strategies, one is having spaces for them to sell, and the more the better. So, our dream is to have so much demand that we're continuing to build farms and spaces that nothing else is being done there, and or we're helping farmers to scale, which, is what we're doing. And the need and the demand are sort of meeting right now, which is great. But we want to be able to, have so much need that there's just a tremendous amount of investment going into building those businesses to meet that demand. And I would say that, continuing to support those farmers and vendors the way that we do in the public market with technical assistance, like you mentioned, anything from labeling to marketing, getting their produce on the shelves and getting it sold, connecting them with local restaurants, connecting them with local institutions where they can sell as well, and doing the heavy lifting for them on that end too. So doing any type of delivery work or distribution that we can. The other one is that because we're in a low income area, we found that one of the challenges from day one was setting the prices for these farmers and vendors that were fair to them and that would work for them so that they could make a living. But being able to sell that at the price point that was needed to a low income family or individual. And so then enters SNAP. And so one of our core strategies in building this local food economy has been to find a funder who would fund basically 50% of any SNAP purchase. So any customer, family that comes in and is able to use their SNAP card on a product, they are charged 50%. And then we have a foundation that will pay the other 50%. And so that was something that we went after right around COVID, because we saw the impact that, first of all, I think, everybody really woke up to the impact of local healthy foods, the fact that local foods and produce were more nutrient dense, better for the environment, all the things. And I think that was a little bit of a wake up call in that regard. But then, also the supply chain broke down. Local was all that you could get sometimes. And it was like, well, shoot, if this isn't available because it's not being produced locally, what do I do? And so there was a lot of attention on that, which is great. But then during that presidential administration, President Biden provided SNAP cards to all of the kids in Ohio County, whether they were qualified or not.
Wow.
And so we were able to really capitalize on that and, market to schools. We stuffed backpacks with, hey, you can get SNAP product at the public market for 50% off. So at that point, we were really just trying to support that low income community. And we were getting money from funders maybe once a month that could cover a couple of weeks at a 50%. And so when that started, we really set out to find a funder and or a foundation that could cover that cost consistently so that we could be known as the place that you can go and get anything that you can purchase with SNAP for 50% off.
Wow.
And that's what we did. So that was definitely a core strategy as well, because it increases sales to the local farms. You can't really tell now that their product is more expensive because everything is super expensive.
Yeah.
But at the public market, where, we don't want to cut those farmers' prices. If we do that, that's putting them into a situation where they can't make any money. And that's not what we want. So we can't cut those prices. And in order to be able to have this low-income community afford those things, that's where the SNAP piece came in. And so sales are really good for the farmers and the local vendors.
Yeah.
And, a lot of it is due to that program. So that's been a core strategy. And yeah, relationship building is definitely something that we focus on, particularly with the vendors. In the conversation of this food hub happening, we have worked with a lot of the vendors to really understand their needs. And we know that a lot of them are needing, commercial kitchen space that they can then be able to scale their business. They need more education. They need more technical assistance, all kinds of things to be able to really scale to a place where, they can financially support themselves in a way that isn't stretching them super thin.
Yeah. I'm guessing also some branding, marketing,
yes,
that kind of things as well.
Yes, 100%. It's funny that you mentioned that, because a year and a half ago, we were awarded an FNPP grant where we brought in a sales and marketing manager, and it has been amazing. So
awesome.
She has really done a great job of creating events, so co-creating events with farmers and vendors or partners in our community, and then has done a really incredible job marketing those, connecting with people who, still don't know about us, bringing the community into our space. But then also she's really out and, setting up at events and educating the communities who maybe have never heard about us. Grow Ohio Valley and public market. So she's sharing all that we do there too. So marketing, definitely a core strategy. Thank you for mentioning that. And it's gone so well.
Yeah.
With the help of that grant.
And what kind of events she organizes with the farmers?
Oh gosh. So there's a fermentation workshop that's happening next weekend. So one of our farmers is specializes in sauerkraut, fermentation, kimchi, that kind of thing. And so they've set up an event around that. We have canning events a lot of times where it's educational and people can learn how to can produce that they're growing so that they can then sell that produce all times throughout the year, other than just the harvest season. We just had a sourdough making event. So a lot of it is educational and sharing how these foods are produced. But then, community events that she goes to are just that, different community events that are happening within the area where she can share who we are and what we're doing.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you also, how would you define success for Grow Ohio Valley in the region?
Oh gosh, a couple of ways. I would define success by let's start with kids. So at these salad bars at their schools, I would define success as, again, the need and the demand being so high that we can barely fill, which has a ton to do with education, because in some of those schools right now, the salad bar is getting hit hard every day. In some of the schools, nothing is happening. So that's a big piece of education. And that sort of goes back to the core of where Grow Ohio Valley started, is that kids' education. So that would define success for me, is if, those salad bars were getting crushed every day and we were having to deliver all the time. Another definition of success would be seeing local farms and some of these really new farmers be able to create a business that supports them. So having these farmers partner with us in different ways, whether it be fulfilling an additional CSA throughout the year, something that I think illustrates lots of produce being sold, lots of livestock, local eggs, all of that local dairy being sold, not just in our area, but outside of our area. So I think something along the lines of a distribution channel where we can take all of that product and get it out so that we have businesses that are making more money. And, I think seeing more farms in the area is definitely something that I look for it to be a measure of success.
Yeah.
I think it can be as simple as sales at the public market increasing. That's definitely been an indicator for us. We are the only year-round farmers market and the one place where you can find the amount of local products anywhere around. So those sales increasing would be a good indicator as well.
Yeah. So, okay, you've talked about all these parts of the nonprofit, and I'm curious, how do you balance the year-round grocery and then like the farmers market and the community space and like the education and the grant writing and the partnerships?
Well, I haven't figured that balance out yet, so I'll say what I can say.
Yeah.
The balance is a little crazy. We used to have a much bigger team. I mean, even 3 years ago, from 2019 until 2023, we really ramped up. We got, more grant money than we had ever had before. And we were sort of at our peak in 2023. And we had a couple of mishaps with a building that was to be our location for our food hub. And then another property that is struggling to get started with, where the food hub would live also. So we had a couple of things happen that were unfortunate and that we did not see coming. And then, as you know, in 2025, when funding became canceled, very precarious, we had to really shrink. So the balance is interesting because now I'm doing the job that a handful of people were doing.
Yeah.
Which, is fine. In my experience, I've had businesses and locations and have had, millions and millions of dollars at stake. And so I've been used to that. Need for balance.
Yeah.
But I am still figuring it out. What I will say is that in the public market, if we're focusing on the public market, the balance is delicate and it's interesting. So we are also a bus stop. Not really, but the buses so the local buses and then Greyhound function out of the back of our space. So we're in a city building, we're in a city parking garage, and worked with the city from day one to build out this space that nothing was in before. So it was kind of just like a waiting room for people who were taking the bus. So we built out this space, and it's awesome because the community does come there. Fortunately or unfortunately, they're not always customers. And it's fine. We won't turn away from, everybody being welcome. That is one of our statements at the public market that we really stick to. Everyone is welcome. As long as they're not disruptive or, dangerous, everyone is welcome. So we have a blend of, community members and or tourists who are coming in for days at a time because they're on the Greyhound line, or, they maybe not tourists, but community members that wait for the bus there, and it's kind of an everyday stop for them. And then we have community members who are in neighborhoods in Wheeling that are high income, and they come in because we have an amazing selection of local meat, for example, and we have an amazing selection of local produce. And we also have, from one of our regional distributors, we have healthier versions of, for example, pastas or tomato sauces. So we do have those grocery store items, like you mentioned. So we get that community coming in for those items. And then, of course, we have the customers who use SNAP and that can benefit from that 50%. So it is a wide variety. We look at it through the lens of sales, but then we also look at it through the lens of our mission, our statement that everybody is welcome, and just being human. We're not going to ask anybody to leave. This was actually a very important conversation that we had during COVID, because when you wanted to stay as far away from people as you could, there is a community in Wheeling that they don't have homes, they live in camps, and this was one of the only warm places that they could come, and we just were not going to kick those people out. It deterred some people from coming in. We pivoted and started doing curbside. So, I think going back to core strategies, I think the ability to pivot and then figure out how you move on to fulfill the needs of the community and particularly your farmers and vendors has been a strategy for us that maybe, I don't know if I would call it a strategy, but it's been a way of working that has worked for us. So the balance, I'm still figuring it out, but it's funny because there's balance in almost everything that we do. So there's a balance between the business model of the public market, and there's also a balance in all of our jobs and what we're doing. So and I should also mention that we have a kitchen at the public market, that we have an awesome kitchen manager chef there who has an incredible following in Wheeling. And this is where I see the biggest blend of people. So attorneys, financial wealth managers, doctors, people of that income level come for his food because it is so good. They come multiple times a week. However, he keeps his pricing really fair. And actually, a lot of people tell me it's too low. It's fine because we do it at a margin where we're comfortable with, which is great. But the community who doesn't have high income is able to get those foods too. And he's using as many local products as he can, but his cooking is healthy and nutritious, and people love it.
Wow, that's amazing.
So that's another really cool piece about the public market. And again, where I see the greatest blend of people are their customers.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. I'm talking a little bit more about the market. I know that you use a consignment model.
Yes.
So how does that work, and why you chose that model?
Well, our consignment model is, I think it's pretty generous for the farmer and vendor, which is great. That's what we want. So it's an 80-20 split. So we take 20% of their sales and they are able to walk away with 80%, which is amazing. And traditional retail models of wholesale, they probably get 60, 50%, something like that. So it's beneficial for them. And then, I think the benefit for us is that we don't have to pay for something prior to it selling. So that's nice. The consignment model is set so that it can be a benefit for the farmers and vendors, but it works out really well, again, because we don't have to forward any costs. So that's always nice. I think the traditional split is 70-30. And we probably won't do it unless we absolutely positively have to. But we're sticking at the 80-20 right now.
That's amazing. That's great for the farmers. I'm so glad you're able to do that.
And again, that SNAP program comes in as a very important piece of the sales puzzle there, because we can sell more to that community because of that benefit.
What have been the market's biggest operational challenges?
Staffing, for sure. Staffing. I would like to say we're in a really good spot. We are in a good spot right now. It would be amazing if we had the people that we have there for, 5-10 years. And I've really tried to make good and livable salaries for people so that they want to stay. We don't have health benefits, which is tough. And we don't have a 401k or any type of retirement plan. So that's tough also, because at the rate of pay that they're making, they may be able to get something with the same rate of pay with better benefits
Yeah.
somewhere else. But it's definitely the organization's mission that brings and keeps people, as well as, some of those just realistic things like salary. But staffing has definitely been the biggest challenge along the way. So this will be our fourth kitchen manager, and James has been with us now for about 2 years. And then this is our fourth store manager as well, including myself when I started. So it's been a lot of turnover. And again, I feel like now we have really good people in place.
Yeah.
But I think really everything comes after people. So, the POS system has been a challenge in the past. Inventory, I think that those challenges are pretty similar to what others face. And I think that we have that unique challenge of people because of, the financial constraint that we might have being a nonprofit.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me if there's work underway on a collaborative region food hub, what gap does that fill and how might it change the landscape for producers?
Yeah. So the gap that would fill is space, tools, tools of many different levels, education, actual equipment, that kind of thing, for these farmers and vendors to scale their businesses. And, whether that be, like we talked about earlier, whether that be adding a value added item to their catalog of things that they sell, or someone who is, currently baking bread that just needs more space, more equipment, and all of the things that they would need in order to make more. And that would fulfill those. I think also storage is something that our farmers are looking for in order for some of them to be able to produce or have more meat to sell or produce to sell. They need somewhere to store these things, and they don't currently have that. So right now we see some of them, we'll let them use some of our space at the public market if we have it. But this will be nice because this will give them something permanent that they can use. So that they can, produce more and have more things ready to sell when they need them. I think this space too is going to be one where, similarly to the public market, it's going to bring different vendors together. And I think that, from what I've seen in the past in terms of, partnerships blooming from people being together at the public market and getting to know one another, I think there's going to be a lot more of that when this happens at the food hub. And I also think that there are things happening in the country that are not happening in Wheeling in terms of, the way that we can be entrepreneurial around local food, that we can introduce to some of these farmers and vendors. And this is the work that they want to be in. And once they're introduced to some of those new things, some of them will want to jump on board and get included in those.
And I kind of want to move towards some information that can be translated to some lessons for farmers and food hubs. So if a farmer or a food hub leader wants to build a similar market outlet in the region, what do you think is a key first step? Or maybe just some things that you learned along the way that if someone would have told you at the very beginning, it would have made a difference?
Well, I would first advise everybody to do a really thorough feasibility study. Is supply and demand there? If it's not, then figure out what gaps you need to fill there before you throw money into opening a space, right? So if there is a ton of produce being grown in the area because there's a lot of farmers, awesome. Then you could create a great space for them to sell. And then what will the demand look like? So for us, for example, we're in a low income area. And so we have yet to figure out the middle ground. I won't say that there's not a lot of middle sort of income. There is. We need to figure out how to better service them. But for the low income, who uses SNAP, we have figured that out. For the higher income, we haven't put as much focus in there, but the products that we have are really attractive to them because we're the only ones around that have it. So it's unique and it's high quality. But then the middle income is something that we need to figure out. But I would say for anybody doing it, figuring out, where you are, and what the demands will look like, and then being able to make the two meet in the middle so that a transaction can happen. That would definitely be one thing, and that would come through a really thorough feasibility study. I would say that, doing a business plan from that feasibility study is going to be super important, because that's when you'll get into like how to make money here. When I first started, our business plan was, I think, unrealistic and counted on customers coming in multiple times a day that work downtown, and we didn't have a lot of those office spaces filled downtown. And then when COVID happened, no office spaces were filled downtown. So, we had to take the business plan and really turn it on its head, which is great, a great opportunity to pivot. And I'm grateful that we were able to do that. But I would say that writing a really realistic business plan and figuring out, how to sell is going to be the next step. Yeah, I would just say, I hate to be going back to like money all the time, but you can't discount your farmers and vendors. You can't discount their prices. And you have to make it affordable for people. So that is a big learning lesson that we had. And it's funny too, because I'm not sure why I can't remember in what example this was brought up, but a farmer actually said to us, like, I can only go down this much, and was almost expecting us to ask him to go down in price. And we were like, no, we don't want you to do that. You're going to go out of business if you do that. We want you around for a really long time. So that was really important. I think partnerships with other local grocery chains is really, really important. Partnerships with schools, partnerships with other nonprofits, partnership with your city or community leaders that are there. Very, very, very important to get into as you're starting to build the foundation of your business there.
And I think that's why these LFPP grants that we are collaborating with has been so important. And we're talking that there are a lot of farmers in the area and a lot of farmers that you purchase from, but what about those that maybe are not quite ready yet? And what are some common barriers you see on producers that are trying to access retail? And how do you think they can overcome that?
So I'm going to answer this in two ways. One, we had and have a community of people who want to grow and to sell, and they don't have anywhere to do it. So last year, we wrote a grant to prepare ourselves for and to build a farmer incubation program. We just started it, and we're using some urban plots that we have used in the past for farming and still use. And we're transitioning a bit into those areas being incubator-led. We have an incubator manager who is this year creating a learning manual, who is improving some of our sites so that they can be a place for multiple people to grow. And then they take their stuff to the public market, get it labeled, get it packaged, and put it up on the shelves. So that has been a barrier. People who want to be doing this but can't because they don't have anywhere to grow, but then they also don't know what to do with it after. So we've been able to fulfill that a bit. The other one is people who are making things in their own kitchen. So in West Virginia, and I know in Ohio too, and I think in Ohio it's become a lot better for producers, but we function under the cottage food law, which allows home cooks and home local food creators to make their product at home, then bring it in with pretty insignificant licensing. It's not a huge investment, but then come in and sell at the public market. There's been a lot of technical assistance there. So what licensing do you need? Some people need support with the fees, and we can do that. some people just need support with how to get from point A to point B in terms of the licensing and whatever type of education, they might need, or things that need to be done in their kitchen in order for them to, fulfill that certification. But, labeling is something that they typically need help with. Packaging is something that they need help with. So we've been able to identify those needs and then fulfill them with, we have a vendor manager in place who takes that role and then get their product on the shelves for sales.
That's pretty cool. And talking a little bit more about a big moment or like one thing that was very significant for Grow Ohio Valley and maybe for the public market that made a big difference for your success.
Okay, I would say for Grow Ohio Valley, the answer is the public market. So the public market was an absolute turning point for Grow Ohio Valley. People still, the names, the way that we have it marketed right now, it's so funny. And there's a reason, but it's the public market and then there's Grow Ohio Valley. So they're separate. Here's the rub on that. A lot of people, including myself at the beginning, thought, that's so weird. Why aren't they co-branded, But from a farmer's perspective, because we grow and sell our produce at the public market, they prefer for the public market to be called something different because it doesn't emphasize and it doesn't put on a pedestal Grow Ohio Valley's produce. It's all sort of an equal playing field if the business is a different entity in a way. So we wanted to listen to that feedback and to honor it. So we've kept it pretty separate. So for Grow Ohio Valley, the answer would be the public market. And for the public market, the answer would be getting that local foundation that we've gotten who asks us to stay anonymous, which is fine. But getting that local foundation to commit to an annual SNAP payment for the 50%. It was a huge turning point. Because then you can market it all the time. And you don't have to say, oh, we've got it for now, but we may not have it later. I think we saw a lot of different trends in shopping when COVID happened. And some of those have remained. For example, people who did online shopping during COVID are still doing online shopping. Some of them, and that's the way that they shop now. It's just a different way that was more convenient for them. Well, it was a need at the time, but now they've realized it's more convenient. Some of the other things that we saw during that time was like people were making less trips. So they wanted to be in a space where they could get everything at once. And so, we made sure that we had all of the product that they would see, or all of the types of products that they would see at a local grocery store, they would see at the public market. So if they were going to stop anywhere, it was going to be with us. And that's something that's continued on.
Yeah, I can only imagine, especially with the SNAP,
those have been turning points for sure, and have given us a lot to learn from.
And then for the farmers, if there's one resource or connection that they should not overlook if they want to scale markets, what would that be?
Okay, we partner with our extension office, our West Virginia Ag Extension Office, and have an awesome partner there. Her name is Casey Ganser, and that extension office has classes online, every instruction manual in the book for any vendor. So we work with them a lot. Awesome. They provide a lot of the content. We're just sort of the middleman. We're the ones who make the connections typically. But anybody that we connect with who is in the business of local food, no matter what they're doing, we connect them with that extension office. They have been an awesome resource for us and for the vendors and farmers.
Oh, that's really cool.
And so I think for anybody out there, going back to the question of if you're going to open a space like this, connect with your agriculture departments in the state, in the city, whoever you might have. They are going to help you a ton. They may say to you, we don't have any producers. Or they may say, oh my gosh, I have so many producers. I don't know what to do with all of them. They're busting out of the farmers markets. That would be an awesome and critical resource to have as well.
Yeah. And then just to finalize, if you can give one concrete action for the listeners that they can take in the next few days, in the next week, whether that's connecting with a food hub, join a CSA, or I don't know, whatever. Those are just some examples, but like if you can think of one thing that the listeners could do that could make a real impact, what would that be?
Oh, I think joining a CSA is a great idea. Yeah, I mean, if you're joining a CSA, you're going to get a variety of farms and you're going to be able to sample a lot of different produce from your local farms. You're going to support them and support their businesses. And also you're going to get to know them. You're probably going to share that with somebody else. I would say that in any area that may hear this in the region, you've got a CSA that you can connect with for sure. You know, I don't know if there are food hubs or markets in the area that would be somewhere to visit. The other thing that I would say is definitely go visit your local farmers markets and learn about who is growing in your area and in your neighborhoods, who is growing, what they're growing. Any purchase that you can make there is, first of all, like, let's talk about the length of time you can keep this produce. You go to a farmer's market in the summertime and you purchase corn. Your corn is going to live in your fridge for probably weeks. And you're not going to see the same from a grocery store because that product has already been in a truck for weeks. So you're going to be able to keep your produce in your fridge part of the summer and be able to use it. Same goes for beans and berries and different things like that. But you're also going to get so many more nutrients in that food because it's been picked so much closer to the time that you consume it. So I would say anybody who's listening, go visit your local farmers market and get connected with the CSA.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome.
A lot of CSAs too have recipes in them and some type of like educational information that you can learn about the farm, about the way that they farm, about how they feed their plants and that kind of thing. And you're going to find that it is a much healthier way than distributors outside of your area. And then recipes so that you can learn how to use that produce maybe in a different way than you've ever used produce before.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. So yeah, thank you so much for being part of
Thank you. This was fun.
Thank you for being a guest and talking to us about all the wonderful things that the public market and Grow Ohio Valley do.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for listening to Community and Commerce Podcast. Stay tuned for our upcoming episodes and thank you for supporting local food and local markets.